Hello, Gold Derby fans. We are here to talk about the Best Supporting Actor Oscar race. I'm Joyce Eng. I'm here with Marcus James Dixon and Chris Beachum. So for the longest time this season, Timothee Chalamet was in first place for Beautiful Boy, but just 2 weeks ago, approximately, Mahershala Ali has dethroned him for Green Book. Can he really win a second Oscar just 2 years after his first? Marcus.
It's a tough one. I still have Timothy at number one, but I could be convinced in this
You
chat.
love Timothy.
He was so great in that. And I wasn't a big fan of Call Me By Your Name, but Beautiful Boy, his performance just completely blew me away. And they kind of owe him one for last year. Whereas Mahershala, they don't owe him anything. They just gave him an Oscar. The Golden Globes owe Mahershala. Remember, they did not give him a Golden Globe.
And the BAFTAs.
So I could see Mahershala winning at the Globes. I could see Timothy winning at the Oscars. But Timothy is very young. They don't typically go that young at the Oscars.
And they don't typically go so close together. I know it's happened. I had somebody the other day bring up Christoph Waltz. That was more than 2 years, and the entire category was Oscar winners. Somebody was getting another Oscar in that category. So I've had more people in first place in this category than I think any acting category. I don't know what to do. I think the possibility is there for Richard E. Grant. It's a kind of an Oscar-y type performance, that best friend, that
over the top villainous,
sort of villainous, but charming.
He's just like a rascal. He's not
a rascal. He's not a villain. But he is not a friend you can trust. We've seen that kind of role win. He's got a great opening at the bar. He's got a great closing scene at the bar, walking out the door, putting on the hat. There's something about that, and he has been working in movies. So a person I'm interviewing today, I've had in first a couple of times, Sam Elliott. There's your typical Oscar winner in this category. Somebody that's in a contender that they're going to watch, that's over 65, that's been working forever. He's basically worked with everybody.
And never nominated.
And never even nominated. So it's not a big role, but
he has his scenes. He has two very poignant scenes towards the end.
Yeah,
he probably has.
He's got one of the great intros I've seen on film in forever. Just the scene where we first see him coming out of that tunnel, and you just follow him down this aisle from the back the whole way, and then the camera twists around and you see who it is. He's got one of the greatest voices in the history of
and that's
TV or movies.
His voice is a plot point. I wish he had one more money scene, Sam Elliott, but he does have that great scene in the car at the end.
A lot of our readers think A Star Is Born can win 3 acting Oscars. That might be a little bit too much, but I could see it having 2, whether Sam is part of it or not. I could see it be Bradley and Sam and not Gaga.
I'm glad to see he's campaigning. I believe he's doing a full day of press today. And then we're part of that, and we're always thrilled to be part of that. But you never know on some of the more veteran actors and actresses especially. They just sometimes don't want to play that game, or they feel like just let the work speak for itself. But in this day and age, the past decade especially, if you don't get out and campaign and your name's not Frances McDormand, you're probably not going to win in a really competitive category.
Well, speaking of Frances McDormand, her winning co-star last year, Sam Rockwell, is in 5th place in her odds. So he could go back to back for Vice. He plays George W. Bush. Do you guys see him coming back? I have him in 5th. I mean, but Vice is largely unseen still, so it's just kind of I could see people just checking his name off again.
I would like to have more people see the film first, and then a lot of our experts are journalists who go out and watch these screenings, and you'll see after they see a screening, do they put someone higher or do they put someone lower? So I'm going to wait and see. Right now, I think I have him in my predictions. No, I took him out for Michael B. Jordan for Black Panther. So
he's getting out there some for the campaign.
Really want to happen.
Well, this is a guy that's been building up equity like crazy and great performances. So that's a possibility. And
he has Creed 2.
Yeah.
And he's a real villain. I mean, it's not, to me, it didn't feel like a comic book villain. It felt more like he had his motives, and you could even understand his motives.
And it was the kind of villain that you liked and you want to see more of him. It wasn't like one of just those, I'm trying to think of it, like Joseph Fiennes from Handmaid's Tale. That's a villain that he's too much. He's too dark. He's too over the top.
Yeah, like his motives, like it was very grounded, and like you got his backstory in Oakland and everything. Like you just understood where he was coming from, and it was just you could see like where his and like T'Challa's paths obviously diverged in the film and why they have such different stances on things.
And I think Black Panther, it could end up being the movie with the most nominations. I mean, it's going to clean up in these below the lines. It could possibly be a Best Picture nominee. I have it winning at this point. So it doesn't seem crazy. I mean, right now he's 6th place in our overall odds.
I mean, we've had a comic book villain win before with Heath Ledger. I don't think Michael's reviews were like as big of raves as Heath's were, but he's mostly people's like favorite in that movie. And the like, I mean, if people had a choice, like if you could just vote for like him or Chadwick, I think most people would say like Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Let me mention some of the others that we're getting strong vibes from, or we know they gave a great performance, or we know they're out campaigning. Just because, I mean, I think this is one of the more fluid races overall. Adam Driver, Black Klansman. A lot of people really like that performance. We're interviewing him tomorrow. Nicholas Hoult, The Favorite.
I love Nicholas Hoult. I have him getting in the Globes.
It's been working forever. And about a boy, he was very young in that, opposite Hugh Grant, and has had a really strong career. And he's really the only male actor you would even consider voting from The Favorite. So if that gets in kind of a sweep mode in nomination phase, maybe he gets brought along for the ride. Possibly Russell Crowe. I just don't know if they've forgiven him yet.
There's Daniel Kaluuya from Widows, who was like a through and through villain in that.
I would not be picking him myself on that one. I was glad he got in last year, but
I feel like he needs like more like light and shade to that character. Like he is like really threatening and scary in it, but
there's nothing redeeming at all about him in the movie.
He wasn't like a mustache twirling villain. He was just too down and dirty.
I know a lot of people are backing Alex Wolff from Hereditary. We've heard a lot of good things on Robert Forster. I mean, we've seen it too on What They Had.
There's Brian Tyree Henry, who has one big scene in Beale Street.
Yeah,
it's like
he has more to do in Widows, but there's a lot of supporting men in Widows. It might be a little harder there, and he's helped by the fact that Stephen James is going lead for Beale Street. For a while, he was supporting, so that might help Brian. The only person I think maybe the only person this year, this cycle, that could have a Tony nomination, Emmy nomination, and Oscar nomination in the same 12 months. And people have done it plenty over time, but I'm talking about in this current cycle.
And
don't discount Jonathan.
He's a star on the rise, and they love to pluck people out at this stage when they're huge A-listers, but he's on the way to become one.
Don't underestimate Jonathan Pryce and The Wife. He was going to be lead for a while. I feel like all the voters will watch it just for Glenn Close. We've seen people drag other people into nominations just because they were watching it. I know a lot of people want Jake Gyllenhaal for Wildlife, and the one other one I will mention, and don't laugh, but he got a BAFTA nomination, and that's Hugh Grant for Paddington 2.
I loved Paddington 2, and I wish they released it in the States
didn't even
last
see
year.
Paddington. I watched Paddington 2 because I was interviewing Hugh Grant, and it was such a delightful movie.
He is
and
so
he
good
is the mustache twirling villain in that movie, with the costumes and he has all kind of different disguises, and he plays an out of work actor. I mean, this. If he could, he has to get into the Globes, in my opinion. That's the one place that should embrace him. If he gets in there, maybe he takes off. And he's already gotten in at BAFTA.
Yeah, that was last year. Like, they should have just released it last
They
year.
released it in Britain before they released it here. That's why it got in at BAFTA last time.
Mm-hmm. Well, so obviously there are about 20 different people who can make the top 5 in Best Supporting Actor. So maybe Mahershala won't go 2 for 2. But those are our predictions right now. Make sure you make yours at Gold Derby if you haven't made them yet. If you have, just go update them right now. There's tons of things changing, different placements, and different, not just this Oscar race, but the Globes and SAGs. And we'll check back in a few weeks.